What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jarod and your girl Gabby back for another episode of the Kicks and Shit Show, episode 40. Bah, 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 bah. Yeah, I'm gonna work on holding it longer and longer.
Wow,
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the jam. By the way, folks, today's episode of the Kicks and Shit Show brought to you by the color red.
Hey. I also want to call out, Jarod, before I ask you what's going on in these streets.
Yes.
You know what this weekend signifies for me?
What?
This is the anniversary of us meeting at All-Star last year.
Oh,
You thought I was going to say some shit about Valentine's Day? Get out of here.
I was going to say, didn't we discuss that last week in the famous crossover episode with Jenna Lemonzelli?
We did. That was like the appetizer. Right now, we were like preparing the amuse-bouche before the entree, Rod. Today's episode is the entree, y'all.
It was, I mean, those of you who are familiar, of course, with the Kicks and Shit Show and followed our journey, thank you, of course, for sticking with us and following through. We've got some exciting announcements coming up, by the way. But we all talk about it. That weekend, we know, frigid. It was brick in Chicago that weekend. Like, I mean, I've been colder in my life, but the times I've been colder, I can count on like one hand. But it was cold. Like, I mean, we were like, you step outside of a cab and you'd be like, if I got to wait online to go somewhere, I'm not going. Like, it's that kind of thing.
I will say, though, you know what is remarkable about cold weather?
What's that?
You learn people's priorities. You know what they say? I'm going to quote the famous saying, "Sluts don't get cold," because even
wait. Who says that? Who says that?
Anon. My favorite poet, Anon. You know, when I was a kid, I was like, who is this Anon? So many brilliant quotes. And then I'm like, yeah, I was really smart as a child.
Clearly.
For those who don't know, Anon is anonymous. Just wanted to clarify that. Your girl knows these days. But I will say that something that always never ceases to amaze me. There is snow all over the ground here in New York. There was snow all on the ground in Chicago. Yet the crop tops were a staple for most.
Goddamn.
Not present company. Even Jenna left her crop top at home in Chicago. You know, Jenna rocks a crop top better than almost anyone I know. She still didn't wear a crop top in
Too
Chicago.
cold for that shit.
There were plenty of them to be seen.
A lot of crop tops. We were at one of the Jordan brand parties. That was Friday night of All Star. And, you know, look, you're going to a Jordan brand party. You're going to, what was Adidas party, Nike party? Doesn't matter. Whatever brand party you go to, you're going to look fly when you go, right? That's what people do. I mean, Gabby, do you remember what were on my feet? Because they certainly weren't Jordans or Nikes or any kind of sneaker.
I do, and please take this in the most respectful way. They weren't that memorable because they weren't sneakers, fam. I remember what was on my feet. Do you remember what was on my feet, Gerard?
You definitely had J's on. Your ones? I think you had ones on. You had ones.
Nope, that was not the ones day.
You
I
didn't wear ones on
saved
Friday?
the ones.
But you were wearing Jordans on Friday, though.
I was wearing cement threes. One of my favorites.
Ah, yes.
Gotta
correct.
go classic.
Correct.
You know what
correct.
I mean?
Yes. You were wearing cement threes. That is correct. Correct. Listen, man, there was a lot of snow on the ground. I don't know where these cabs were dropped. So that one party was at the Armory, and I remember when the Uber pulled up. You know, it's not that I'm asking for this, but it's not like, you know, a car service. They don't come around and open the door for you. So I open the door, I put my feet down. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Slush, like 8 feet of snow. I was like, oh no, thank God I had all my boots, my duck boots. I was straight.
I agree.
Imagine if I stepped off in my crispy white J's, I would have been mad. Fuck.
Well, there is an in between, Gerard. I have to say, between duck boots and crispy white J's. There's a reason I never rock crispy white J's. My OCD can't handle them. Like, I love a good clean Superstar.
Even if I had my
action, but you know what I mean? It's just
even if I had red cements or black cements on, like you want me to put those into that disgusting slush? No.
Right. We just got to get you the Jason Mark or the Crop Protect spray. A little Rejuvenator will change your life. You know what I mean? Get that shit protected. My sneakers survived. That's all I got to say.
They did. Anyway, Gabby, what's going on in those streets? How are you? How was the week that was?
I don't even know. I have no answers for that. The week that was is still going. You know, tomorrow, this weekend, I should say, is Valentine's Day weekend. You know, and for me, it's a controversial weekend.
Well, because it's fake.
Exactly. I agree. And, you know, apparently New York has decided this is the weekend we're going to do indoor dining because, you know, that's when COVID has taken a break for romance too. You know, it makes no sense to me. And I know we talk about this all the time. I think like I'm glad to see that the vaccine rollout is happening, slow but happening.
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, I just want to concentrate on Bay this weekend. I'm going to have some bacon and eggs for breakfast tomorrow. I might get a bagel. I think I missed the Carmines today on Sneakers app, so I'm going to buy a pair on eBay tomorrow. I'm going to live my best Bay life.
I see what you're doing there. Bay. Get it? Get it? See what you're doing there, people? Like your play on words. What I want to actually discuss is, again, not a Hallmark holiday that causes people to spend money unnecessarily. I want to talk about the week that was. So obviously this weekend, and this episode comes out on Monday, so it'll be post-Valentine's weekend. But the Sunday prior was Super Bowl Sunday, in many ways an American holiday, right? And whatever, the games, whatever, we don't care. We can talk about that if you want. Commercials, whatever. I do want to talk about the discourse around the halftime show with The Weeknd. So I thought it was very interesting, at least on social media, when I was sort of scrolling around and seeing what people were saying. And it reminded me of something that you said a few episodes ago. I don't remember which, but it was a comment you had made about Nickelback. You were like, it's like Nickelback. Like, somebody must like them. Why are there selling so many albums and so many records? And it's so funny because I think we talked about this then. There is this sort of feeling around, and still, and I don't know, I figure at some point, like, you grow out of it. Although on Twitter, I can't tell how old anybody is, just because, people could be whatever. This idea that, The Weeknd, who even likes this music? This is terrible, blah, 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 and all that. And I'm like, but this dude's got a lot of hits, so somebody must be liking this music, right? Like, it can't all of a sudden be like, no, this is terrible. I'm like, no, this isn't quite true. Like, me, and I like Abel. I think Abel's music is quite good. I enjoy it. Dude's got hits. I thought it was a great halftime show. Once it got past a little sound issue early with the technical difficulties, excuse me. But, I just think the discourse around this stuff is always so fascinating, and I think it really... The conversation on social media around it, I think, is so sort of representative of where we are in society and culture, right? This idea about you've got to, like, attack things and be critical. And, like, by the way, I am all for art criticism. Some of my best friends in this industry are music and culture critics, right? That is criticism from an artistic performance standpoint. That's a real thing. I'm down with that. But this idea of nobody likes this, why is it here? It's like, I don't really know what that's about. Like, and I'm just curious your thoughts.
You want to know my thoughts, Jarod?
I do want to know your thoughts.
I think that the Super Bowl, and maybe it's because I'm a big fan of the Super Bowl and Super Bowl Sunday, agree with you that it is a national holiday, and Super Bowl Monday, the day after Super Bowl, should be a reverse half day. Let all of us enjoy the morning. In morning or from food morning, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you were disappointed by commercials. Take the morning. Sleep it off. But I think there's something for everyone, right? And we are in a society now where I agree with you. Everyone wants to be a critic. And I think sometimes people want to imprint just to be a part of the conversation. And sure, The Weeknd, I love that you're calling him by his government name. But The Weeknd has done some controversial stuff to make cultural statements with the plastic surgery and the bandages. Just because someone doesn't understand it doesn't mean it's wrong either. And I think that we need to address that. I also think I agree with you. He has a lot of hits. I miss the Super Bowl halftime days, though, where it used to be like the VMAs all over again. Like, you'd have Aerosmith and Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, and then, like, Lady Gaga would fly in from the sky, and Katy Perry's Left Shark would have a moment to shine.
Katy Perry's Left Shark.
Do you know what I mean? And, I think the halftime show for me, as someone who has been fortunate enough to go to a Super Bowl, it's for the people on TV. Mm-hmm. The show looks much better once it's produced on TV. And that's nothing against the artist. It's just that cameras can make magic and angles and mystique that the human eye can't see in person. But, again, like Nickelback, I know there's someone out there that liked it, but their voice is clouded over by the one who is louder. The one who is loudest in the room isn't always necessarily the smartest in the room or speaks for the majority of the room. They just happen to be the loudest. So that's my thoughts, Jarod.
I like where you're out of that. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because a friend of mine it responded to me and said, do people actually not like his music? I go, apparently there's some people who take themselves very seriously and think like it's bad or whatever. And I'm like, okay. I mean, again, personal choice is personal choice, right? But I mean, What's not to love about Poppy Hits? I mean,
I was gonna say he's a catchy mofo, like come
right.
on, and very talented one at that.
Exactly. I mean, so anyway, kudos to the Weeknd for what I thought was a good show. The game, who cares? That was what it was. Now, I know you had some commercial thoughts. I will say this before you go into that. One of my favorite runs of the Super Bowl was the E-Trade baby commercials from quite a few years ago now. I think we were like in the 2000, 11, 12, 13, 14 range. Those are some of my favorite commercials. These hilarious babies like talking about their E-Trade retirement accounts. But anyway, that's conversation for another day. I know you have thoughts about Super Bowl commercials.
I mean, I have thoughts about a lot of things, but, you know, I'm going to do one closing remark on the Weeknd's halftime show that is going to be a segue into the commercials. If the Weeknd is endorsed by Drake from State Farm, he's good enough for me. That's all I got to say. And, you know, that was some of the smartest marketing, Drake from State Farm. Didn't he get like some crazy designer also to do his State Farm polo?
Apparently.
I think that's been making its way around the interwebs. What was it? Prada or Balmain? Like something fancy. I don't know. You know, maybe he had the right sweatpants to go along with it, Jarod. How about that?
Listen, if you got the right sweatpants, because it's not so much about the sweatpants per se, right? But if they look right and you got the fit connected with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, Balenciaga sweatpants with the Balenciaga Drake from State Farm polo. I mean,
you'll consider
I
that.
think I need some new insurance.
Yeah. See, all of a sudden you're switching your tune now.
But yeah, that was one of my favorites from the night. I think there were some other good, clever ones that were a little bit unexpected, you know, and there were some that, you know, were a little bit cancel culture. Little cheap Bruce Springsteen action. I think we've gotten to a point where we're very sensitive, and I think there's a balance between being sensitive from a place that has reason to be sensitive and sensitive because it feels like we're part of this cancel culture. And I say that because, you know, I've also seen a lot this week, and I want to know your thoughts on Super Bowl commercials, but I've seen a lot about the new Aunt Jemima syrup that has been voted the worst rebrand on multiple polls that I've seen in history. So I want your thoughts on the commercials and
Aunt Jemima. My thoughts on Aunt Jemima.
Yeah.
Look, I think ultimately, right, none of these things, so many of these things that are happening right now are performative, right? And it's, let's all say that we care about diversity and inclusion and the marginalized Black and person of color voice. Okay, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. What else are you doing though? Is it just getting rid of these symbols, or are you actually doing actionable things that are going to actually change the environment and culture, which is what the actual causes and movements about this are about, right? Yeah, that's a nice symbolic gesture. Fine. What are you actually doing though, right? All of this stuff that's not going to help marginalized people, right? Are you increasing your outreach to these communities? Are you increasing the amount of people of color you're hiring into your workforce? And not just hiring. Are you making them feel a part of the culture there? Are you making them feel as though they are creating culture? No? Okay, so what do I care about you doing your silly ass no, we are not going to have this on a syrup bottle anymore. Great. Like, how does this help? Right? So that's always my thing. Great symbol. What are the actions you're doing behind it?
So what you're saying is you like the rebrand of Aunt Jemima. I took away a lot more from that than just that, but, you know, for the purpose of the show, I'm trying to keep it tight.
I mean, it's whatever. Who cares? I don't care about it. It's not going to make me. First of all, I haven't used Aunt Jemima syrup in years. Not because I didn't. I mean, you know, you kind of your tastes evolve over time, right? So like, you're young, you do that. But now I'm like, oh, I can't have that now. It's way too sweet. I just go straight up regular, you know, fresh maple syrup.
Organic.
Yeah, Yeah. Exactly.
Got you. It's okay, you bougie. But what do you think about Super Bowl ads? I mean, I know you talk about the babies. I used to love, obviously, the Budweiser ads. Like
with the frogs?
The frogs back in the day. SNL did like a little riff on that, which was so great to see. Yeah, what did you think? What was your favorite commercial?
I honestly, can I be 100% honest with you? I didn't love any of them, to be perfectly honest. I also didn't see a lot of them because, look, the game, as I said, itself was kind of like I was doing multiple things. I was like, all right, let me just turn back in and see what's up. Don't care. I do think creativity-wise, look, we live in sort of this postmodern world, right, where it's just let's just take from what's already been done and try to remix it, right? State Farm to me, although, is always a good one because I do in fact enjoy State Farm, even from its iteration, from the first one in this sort of Jake series. I don't know if you remember it.
Khakis.
Well, yes, the one where the wife he's like, who are you talking to? Jake from State Farm. Really? What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm? Khakis. Right? Like, I mean, that's funny shit. So, like,
She sounds hideous.
oh, well,
so
she's
great.
a guy, so, right? I mean, it's just like, that to me was funny because in a way, everyone can relate to that, right? The idea of your partner finds you talking quietly on the phone at like some random hour, and it's like, who the fuck are you talking to, right? Like that's like your first response.
Relatable, exactly.
Right? And then so everyone's like, oh, this is, and then the whole joke, and it's hilarious. So we're all laughing. So I'm invested in the Jake from State Farm story arc, if there is such a thing in commercials.
There absolutely is. There's like Jake from State Farm 2.0. He's been working out a little bit. You know, he's a little younger. I don't think they're related to each other, but they both rock khakis, you know.
So yeah, so for State Farm, invested. Everything else, hit or miss.
All right. So Jarod, before we bring on our guest, I have a question for you.
Ask away.
What's going on in these streets for you?
I mean, look, we're in the middle of, as I say every week, it's NBA season. We got a lot happening right now. We got this All-Star game coming up, which we will not be attending because, why would I want to go to the hotbed of coronavirus, which is Atlanta? No thanks. Working, staying busy out here, always a lot going on, There's some great entertainment that's out now. Judas and the Black Messiah, looking forward to seeing that at some point. It's a lot happening in the world from a entertainment and a consumption standpoint, so I think that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what's going on in these streets. Basketball and pop culture. That's what I do.
I love it. Love to hear it. And I don't disagree with you. I mean, there's a lot to consume because there's not a lot to do. So I'm here for it. Shouts to the content creators.
Yes.
And filmmakers and creatives who are out there doing their thing to keep us entertained.
Well,
we appreciate you.
Well, it's so funny because my mom right before was like, what have you been doing? I go, Mom, what is there to do? Fucking nothing. I mean, I didn't curse at my mom. Sorry, Mom. I don't do that.
Do you, Jay?
No,
but...
I definitely don't do that. But anyway, we have a special guest coming up next, so stay tuned. What's up, guys? We are back. Gabby, we are joined by the creator, the chief of Curvy Kicks, and the co-founder of In Her Soul's Collective, Jixie Gonzalez. Jixie, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me on today. I'm very grateful that you guys asked me. And I'm glad we got to connect, and I'm really excited.
We are happy to have you. Yeah, no, you're a collector, you're a storyteller, you're a content creator. I mean, you are deep into this game. Sneakers for you, Gabby always says sneakers is her love language, right? Like, which I always laugh at that. But like, it's more than just something you do. It's so much about who you are. So I kind of want to begin from the beginning. How did it all start? When did you first fall in love with sneakers?
Sometimes like telling the story so much, I can't wrap my head around it myself. I grew up with very young parents. They were into hip hop and sneakers, and I was born in Brooklyn in the 80s, and I grew up in Brooklyn in the 80s, and that was the emergence of like hip hop. So my father was like a young, late teens, and he was really into like Adidas and Pumas and just the whole hip hop b-boy lifestyle. And so was my mom. My mom was like a dancer. So the both of them were just young and into kicks. So it was something like we did as a family. It was something that, weekends we go sneaker shopping, Easter sneakers, it was a thing. Christmas sneakers is a thing. Back to school sneakers is a thing. So sneakers was always like a part of our lives. So that's how I started. And my mom says that I asked for sneakers as young as like 6.
That's awesome.
Like it.
Do you remember what those pair were you got when you were 6 years old?
I'm Puerto Rican, so I say E's very heavy, but Elise.
Yeah.
So, it was a pair. I asked my mom for a pair of sneakers that had a sun on it. It looked like the logo was a sun. And I asked her for the sneakers. I really wanted white. And she bought me them and also taught me a valuable lesson. She bought me them in black because I asked for them in the winter. And she says, you don't wear white sneakers in the summer. So she had to get them in black for me. So that was like she figured out by the logo that I was telling her the sun on it that it was the Elise. So that was the first sneaker that I asked for.
Wow.
I love that. I feel like Jarod, we are in sync today, y'all. Jarod and I were just talking about this. I don't wear white kicks in the snow. So me and your mom, there's a love language there, let me tell you. But that's a great brand. That's a classic brand. Too.
Yeah.
Like, nod to the tennis world. I think
Mm-hmm.
like that brand paved the way for Adidas where it is now with the Stan Smiths and the superstars, that it's come up with more of this like lifestyle insurgence. But that was like the OG. So I love that that was one of your first pairs.
Yeah, I really liked like British Knights, LA Gears at that time. That was like really what was in. I didn't get into Jordan until much later. So, and I want to say maybe about like junior high school, maybe like 6th, 7th grade was when I really got into Jordans. Before that, elementary school, you know, I remember as a kid having a pair of kangaroo sneakers, and the tongue had a little pocket. And I would stick my little quarters and stuff in there. And when I would go to the store on my bicycle, I would take my little quarters out for my chips and my quarter water. And I would take it out the sneaker. And that's why I used to like my kangaroos, because they had a little pocket. And I didn't have to lose my change. I would lose them otherwise. But I have those fond memories of like really early sneakers, very sneakers from like 30 years ago. So I hold those memories dear. But the sneaker that made me a collector was the Reebok Freestyle 5411. When I wanted the sneaker, I was probably 3rd or 4th grade, and I asked my mom for that sneaker, and she said, "What color?" And immediately it didn't resonate in my head, but in my head I saw boxes, and I saw all colors from all my outfits. And not like fly fits either, like girly big dresses, and I will match my sneakers and do Madonna socks. Like,
Ooh.
I always was
I love it.
So I asked her, and when she asked me that, you know, what color, I immediately thought all colors. Like, and that's the sneaker that I wanted to see boxes. I wanted all of them. That's the sneaker that was like, all right, you're going to get each and every color. So that's the sneaker I have to applaud for, like, making me want to collect.
I love it. So there's so much to unpack there in what you just said. The first thing I want to go back to is, and it's such a Brooklyn, New York City centric thing, the idea of the quarters in your kangaroo pouch pocket to get your 25-cent chips, your quarter one. Like, I mean, that's the young kids now like have no constant idea of what that is. But like, yo, I could take 50 cents and go to the corner store and come back with stuff, right? Like.
And then they liked me in my corner store. They were my people. So it was like quarter water, chips, or like a pack of like cookies or something, you know, a pack of like Twinkies or something, and get some like Swedish fish or sunflower seeds, because they were 10 cents a pack.
Yeah.
So, you know, I used to go to the store with those, but I had a Care Bear bike.
Nice.
And it was like bluish, like the Care Bears, like one of the Care Bears, and the kangaroos were like a Carolina blue.
Nice.
But like sneaker, like shoesy kind of things. And I loved them because I didn't lose my money in them, and I was always losing my money as a kid. My mom would scream at me, and I no more to get my quarter water, so it was tight. Like, that was real New York. That was like something that was part of how we grew up.
Yep.
And it contributes to like my memories. And it's crazy that the only reason I remember these things is through my footwear.
Yeah, and I love it. So even then, you were very much into the full fit. That's something Gabby and I always talk about, right? And you went so far as, well, my bike, my shoes, my everything is going to be coordinated. I love that, because that's so much about it, right? When you think about how you style and put your stuff together, you're like, let me get these pair of sneakers, and you're like, when you were little, because I was thinking about that. Would it match these jeans and this thing? And I don't know where that came from, but it was a thing. You'd always plan the outfits out.
Back then, it wasn't the way we learned sneakers was not only the footwear. We learned sneakers through our environment. We learned sneakers through what we wore. It was a statement. It was a self-expression. So, you know, even back then, very young, I was highly influenced by the D-boys on my block, by the older kids that used to hang out, and they used to dress really nice. Like, I got into polo really young. Like, I was a lowlife, like 11, 12 years old. I had like a lot of low pieces, ski pieces, because that was just the environment that I was in. And back then, you know, you didn't have blogs. So you didn't have people to influence your purchase. You had to go outside, see what's out there, go shopping, travel a little bit, which at that time traveling wasn't like, it was expensive. It was a much more, it was more money at that time. So really you was trying to make a statement in your hood. So that's really where that comes from. But I always loved fashion, and then I always loved to dress my sneakers up. It was just always a thing that it's a part of me. And if you take it away from me, I gave myself, I think for Lent, I gave up sneakers for 40 days.
Ooh.
The whole 40 days was just like, so it was no looking at sneakers, right?
Oh.
Wait, so you couldn't go in your closet?
No, it was no
This
nothing.
is wild.
With 2 pairs of sneakers for 40 days. So I wanted to like cleanse and see what that feels like. And I realized so much. I realized like sneakers is coping for me. Sneakers is part of like, aside from living like hectic with work and learning and things that I do, it's like sneakers is always the outlet. So I learned that about myself. I learned that, sneakers keeps me happy. It keeps me in a chill place. I learned that fashion is so much of a part of me that you take it away from me. I barely knew who I was. I was like, ugh, what am I wearing today? I feel like crap. So I attached it to my moods. Sneakers are attached to my moods. That's another thing. When I'm in a bad mood, somebody pointed out to me that I always wear heat when I'm in a bad mood. Like,
I love it.
And then, there's times where I'm playful and I'm girly and I'll have like very playful sneakers on. So, I just learned so much about myself during that time. But it was definitely a time that made a statement that like sneakers are just part of your overall well-being at this point.
Wow.
I love everything about this. I think there's so much for me to unpack and so much that I can relate to here. First of all, that must have been the hardest 40 days ever. But I think what stays with me is that like sneakers are a vibe, they're a mood. It's not just an inanimate object, right? It's not just a piece of who we are, but fashion, sneakers, it's a way of expression. So when you talk about all the different colors, like I woke up feeling a little tired today, so I slapped on some lipstick. That's like my equivalent. So I totally get that. But I have to ask though, what is your favorite moody kick?
My favorite let me see, like there's like sneakers that I go outside like pow. I'll go outside like pow in a pair of cords, like I'll go outside in my Jordan 4 cords and it's just like, don't talk to me, kind of vibe. It's
Everyone's going to want to talk to you in those kicks.
And then the face matches. So it's like the face is me. And no, people just like whisper and look down.
That's amazing.
Because, men especially automatically assume I don't know what I'm wearing on my feet.
Exactly.
You know how that conversation starts all the time? Yo, you know what those are, right? No, I don't.
Oh, did your boyfriend was out for you? Excuse me.
My favorite ones, I was like really scared. And it was a bull crap pair of sneakers. It wasn't even all that. It was a pair of like Oregon foams. And I went to a concert and it was so late at night. It was like 4 a.m. I'm downtown Brooklyn by Fulton, and a whole team of little goons, real young, ignorant
little goons.
They're like, oh yeah, them sneakers is worth. And I hear them talking in the back. They weren't even worth what they were saying they were worth, but they were talking about it. So finally, when they walked by me, they're like, yeah, shorty got those sneakers on, and they're like real close to me. I thought I was gonna get robbed for some damn sneakers. So when they're talking to me, I was like, these are fake. I was like, these are so fake. I was telling them that the sneakers are fake. I was like, these are so, I was like, for $45, you want the website? Gave them a fake website and everything because I thought
I love it.
Amazing.
I love playing them out like that. That's
and those
beautiful.
Little goons didn't even know what was coming. That's my favorite part. But so I know you touched upon some of like the differences in female sneaker culture and just some of the stereotypes that females get, like questions about whether they don't know what they're wearing, are these fake, having to have a defense mechanism, stuff that men don't really have to deal with and don't understand. So I would love for you to talk more about just some of the challenges of being a female sneakerhead, whether it's from it being put into a hype beast box just because like they're having a moment now, or what does some of that look like from a female perspective?
There's so much to touch on in that topic. Like me, I'm a historian, so I dive into, and I go into the culture a lot. I'm a culturalist in the sneaker community. So I dig into that culture and how it parallels into sports, into being a woman, into the actual sport of being a consumer and collecting and buying. So in this space, there's so many areas where there are so much hardships for women. The first one is just not being identified as being part of this culture from the beginning, which women have been, right? So women have been part of this culture, and in the most fundamental way, right? Who bought you your sneakers? Your mama. So,
Great point.
women have been a part of understanding how important it is. Our grandparents, right? What's the one thing they teach you, whether you have money or not? Keep your feet clean, right? Keep your shoes clean, they teach you how to clean your sneakers. Even if you have one pair for 10 years, you cleaning those sneakers. So in the most fundamental way, this is how women have shaped where we are now with sneakers. And within from then till now, not being recognized comes up as a recurring topic. It comes up in our design, right? Do we have classic silhouettes, for women that are being created now, right? That will live in time and space and have a legacy, a lasting legacy. Blogs, there are not many female blogs, right? That are only focusing on female sneakers. These brands are giving us male silhouettes with female colorways, feminine colorways. So it's a big difference with, the equality and what's going on out there. And just growing up, it was like campouts were really hard for a girl. If you were on your monthly and you were camping out all night for sneakers, like men would never understand what women
Nope.
have gone through and the links, or just the fact that you would be overlooked. If you did a lineup and men would think they could skip you, that you don't know what you're there for, that you're waiting for your boyfriend or something, you're a space holder. So it's like, women have just always been looked at as, you don't really know, this is not really your thing. That created a lot of hardships. But I think through time, people are putting the focus, the right people putting the emphasis. The men are aligning with us. The men are acknowledging, which is very important. So I think we're moving forward. But the struggle has just been, it's been there and it's been crazy. But I'm glad now. I feel like I'm in a space where people are understanding more, brands are understanding more, the community is understanding more. And there's people that are really good people out there that are helping women, kind of climb those ranks.
Yeah, I love where
Love
you're
that.
at with this. I think it's brilliant because on this show, obviously, not just because Gabby's my co-host, but like even if she wasn't, like I am here to champion women involved in this industry because like first of all, almost all the people I know in this industry behind the scenes are women any damn way to start. So like, I mean, I'm really about promoting that. What do you think? Because you touched on the idea of silhouettes and just female colors, and Gabby rails on that all the time, and it's true. It's just like, oh, let me put some pink and purple on it, and that's a women's launch, and whatever. That's bullshit.
Awful.
What do you think brands need to be doing to push this out better and align? And do you think any current sneaker brand out there is at least making steps in the right direction?
Well, I think when it comes up to the conversation of brands that are what they're doing for women, I think first thing you have to do is separate the brands, because some brands do exceptionally better than others. Reebok, for example, historically, they made the first women's sneaker, right? So they've continued that pattern of catering to women, throughout, even till present, right? We have Cardi B's, that just came out. So we have women's sneaker. That's a sneaker designed for a woman. It's a silhouette for a woman, made for a woman, woman's colorway, all that good stuff, right? Puma does a great job. Puma has a lot of great collaborations. We got to go down the line for all of it. Where we get sticky is Jordan Brand. So where we get sticky is Jordan Brand. And why? Because women, at the end of the day, no matter what the brand thinks, what anybody thinks, I have to sit here and speak through experience and what I've seen with the people that that are around me in this culture. And I have to say that a lot of it is the icon, is the man itself. A lot of women really did love Jordan's game. We really did love what he wore during these games. We loved his jerseys. We love seeing him in an Olympic jersey. We love seeing him in his original retro models, which were not available to most of us during that time. Or we missed them. We were young. We couldn't buy them. We couldn't afford them. So now to see them again, we want them, but maybe it's only coming out for the men. And then they'll give us something else. So it has nothing to do about creating something completely separate. It has to do with the fact that we came up with the men but couldn't get exactly what the men had. And now we would want that as well. So I think when it comes up to them, that's really it. But there's so many other brands like Diadora. Diadora has like, amazing quality, amazing. They're amazing with their employees. They're just amazing overall. You have all these different brands. Adidas, Stella McCartney makes a hell of a collection every time she drops.
Yep.
You have so many brands that do it for women. So the focal point on just Jordan Brand kind of brings it down for everybody else. But Jordan Brand does make strides to try and understand. They're just trying to be ahead. And being ahead of the curve means they take risk. And the risks they take are on a mid, or they have a zipper, or something that we're not really looking at. When it comes up to the colorway thing about the pink, so some women have been in GS sneakers their whole life, which means they've had a lot of kids colors. They've had a lot of pink, purple, turquoise, yellows, right? Somebody like me, I've always been men's size, so I'm a men's size 8. So what happened is I've never been able to wear, like, I love the Airmore, the up-tempos, the Tiffany colorway. That's like, with all the sneakers I have, like, that's a beauty, and I'd love it. And it's GS. I'd never be able to wear it. So for me, it's like, I love when the pinks come out. I love when the purples come out, because I've been in men's sneakers for so long. And even though men like a lot of pink, because I've, throughout the years, on Pearls, Katie Ford, but a lot of pink out there that was done very tastefully that, in present day is dope, but I don't have as much as other women. So I can see how they can complain about that. But in the same breath, it's like there are certain women that do want those pinks and purples. And I compare it like this. In shoes, right? Women who love shoes. You have kitten heels, high flats, loafers. They have all kinds of shoes. So in sneakers, women should have all kinds of sneakers. And the emphasis on certain sneakers is because we don't have all kinds of sneakers.
I love it. Love where you're at on that.
There's my brain is moving like a mile a minute right now. Like, I feel like we have to do like an after show too, because I can talk to you for hours about this. But the thing that I like most for me is I'm someone who has been on the brink of those sizes. Like, one of the first pairs of J's that I got when I was still learning about sneakers was a grade school size, and didn't realize that there was a difference sometimes, like in the midsole, in the details, in the construction of the shoe, that I thought they were fake. One of the first pairs I got. So I love that you touched on that, and I love that you touch on all these other brands, because I think you're so right. We are in a Jordan land where that gets a lot of the conversation, but I think it's important to bring a lot of light to these other brands that really are doing big strides for women, and shouts to Jordan Brand too. We talked about this on last week's episode about some of the things that Jordan is doing to appeal to women and to give women a shot, like the early access, things like that. But I want to know, out of all the things in the culture that are happening for women, if you could pick one direction and say to brands, which is the most important, having women's silhouettes or more colorways available to women? I mean, it can be both, but I'd love to know your thoughts there.
Definitely silhouettes. Like, just the fact that we don't have signature designs for women. The fact that we didn't have one for Serena, who was one of the great.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
It will never make sense to me.
It will never make sense to me. To see Maya Moore on a Jordan Brand roster and not have her own, and she got more chips than the men on that roster. So it's like, when you think about and look at it like that, that's really, it's kind of like you're pushing equality, you're pushing that, but at the same breath, I don't see the action behind it. But I love that Jordan Brand has jumped into the plus size arena, because that's kind of where I live. I've been kind of just always an advocate for combining sportswear, plus size sportswear with sneakers, because I've been plus size my whole life. So it's been very important for me to be able to see representation, to be able to see clothing. It's horrible to spend my whole life going and being able to buy sneakers, but never being able to come out with a fit from the same store. And it's always been something that is toxic to the mentals of women who really love sneakers. It's also been changing of how they dress, how they present themselves. So that's something that I focus highly on. That's what I've dedicated my platform to. I've dedicated my platform to empowering women in the sneaker community to really be comfortable with themselves. For a long time, most women in the sneaker community, the online community, because I do make a distinction between in real life and online, because they're not the same. So online, women were just taking sneaker pictures without fit pictures, without themselves. And a lot of it is because a lot of bigger women love sneakers. We've been wearing sneakers, our whole life. Like, my mom did not allow me to wear shoes growing up at all because I took the trains. I was all over the streets. So she automatically said, like, you're going to fall. You don't need to wear shoes. You need to be comfortable. So it was like shoes were not allowed. So, and that's because I was a bigger girl and I was always clumsy. I'm still clumsy. I'm the friend that we walking down the street, I'm leaning on you to the left. We're in the middle of the street, because I'm just like a very heavy walker. But, that's just to say that there's a lot of women in the community who are plus size, but we're never catered to. And that's kind of, that's the cross street that I'm at. I'm at sportswear, plus size sportswear, and sneakers.
It's interesting. I definitely want to, because I want to go into Curvy kicks and Inner Souls Collective, because I know that's a huge thing. I want to just double back on the Serena Williams point, because I'm sitting here thinking about that. How in the hell does that woman not have her own signature shoe? Even if, okay, let's say Nike decides and they make a decision. All right, well, tennis, we may not get a lot of people to follow. Look, you gave Tiger Woods a golf silhouette. And I'm not saying that whatever, but my point is,
Michelle had a blazer, a waterproof blazer.
I mean,
golfing.
There are, you know how many women I know just off, and I don't know a lot of people off the top of my head that would buy Serena Williams silhouettes? I mean, I can name a lot. The amount of dudes I can name who would want to buy a Tiger Woods, not as many.
No, that's why they're going Jordan cleats instead. But I think like, as someone who grew up playing tennis, and I know you don't know this about me, but I used to wear basketball sneakers on the tennis court. I have friends who are in tennis. It's a similar technology. It's like I rock KDs when I play tennis now. Like the KD 13s.
For tennis, I love Agassiz, so I always wear Agassiz.
Yes, the best.
Bo Jackson, actually. I really those are, I like high tops. I can never do a low top for tennis because I need like true ankle support.
Yeah, I'm the opposite because I like to slide on the court, even on hard courts, just because I've got like Gumby knees that like.
K-Swiss, yeah.
You move around in those. I played tennis for a long time.
I love that.
I just couldn't wrap my head just around how they kept giving Serena, off-white, a 97. They gave her Air Force One. She has some samples around there too because they were trying a little bit of everything, but. If we look back historically at like Cheryl Swoops and her collection, when Cheryl Swoops had her signature line, she had multiple pairs under her line. They took technology that was traditionally in men's sneakers, foamposite, inspiration. They took definitely different soles, and they created a design for women to play basketball. And this collections, some of them, they sat on the shelves until they sold out, and some of them just were in, like a Cheryl Swoop 4 was an instant, it was a good hit. Men wanted it. I remember seeing men in them. I saw women in them because they were like the red, white, and blue kind of colorway. She's had her own logo on the sneakers, and she was just it was so pivotal. It was a pivotal moment. And to regress back from that, I can't wrap my head around that. How you once gave like one of the greatest female basketball players, female GOAT, her own signature, but you didn't give it to Serena. I can't just...
The greatest tennis player of all time. She doesn't... I mean, I would have 100% bought some Serena kicks. You kidding me? Like, that's just like...
I think you nailed it, though, talking about how with Cheryl Swoops, how men bought those sneakers. And, like, some of the men's collections now sit on shelves for a long time. So if that's the reason to not do it, I'm going to call BS on that one.
They don't sell out like that. LeBrons don't sell out like they used to.
Nope.
Bring they're retroing something like the South Beach is coming back out. That's gonna. But other than that, you don't have many men's lines that are just like out the door, especially for performance products. So it's just like give the women an opportunity to have that kind of performance products using the technology that we love from that brand. So it's like using the tech that we love from Jordan brand, give women something that they can push out there. I did love the Jordan, the women's, and I say this everywhere because I thought it was a great sneaker. I just don't know how. And I think they just dropped it on the marketing. But the women's Latitude 720 Jordan, that was a great sneaker. It had inspiration from a Jordan 8. It had an air bubble of a 720. It had air raid. It has so much tech in it. It was a super comfortable sneaker. It's actually one of my favorites. And I spend a lot of time looking for the models that came out overseas for that sneaker. And that sneaker, they made a Swarovski. That's the only sneaker, Jordan, that has a Swarovski hang tag. And it's a woman's sneaker. They didn't attach it to a player. They didn't create any concepts for it. It's just like when they came out with it, they had an opportunity to attach it to a woman. Like, why didn't they give that to, I know they had an NBA player in the campaign for it, but it wasn't their sneaker. So it's like, why would you take inspiration from a Maya Moore? Why wouldn't you take inspiration from so many women who are in the WNBA now? Give them that sneaker. The same way LeBron puts his Fruity Pebbles and graffiti and all his inspo on his sneakers, let a woman go to town with her inspo and just see what how the market responds to that. I'm sure you make a limited size run. There's women that are just going to take that. So the same way I had to go and look overseas for that sneaker, and those sneakers are no longer available, is the same way women would look for those types of sneakers as well. So I just think with them, they have to practice what they preach, in the sense where it's like, you're screaming equality, women this, the women is first, the future is female, but you really have to put that action towards the women that's already on your roster.
Agreed. And Jarod and I talked about this at the beginning of the episode too, right? It's like nice to come up with something that looks pretty, that seems like it's targeting female, but what's the action behind it? And I love that you call out the 720, because one of our previous guests, Tara, worked on the Lyrical Lemonade 720 collab earlier on this year. And to your point, that was a men's sneaker. That could have been positioned for women. I think there's so much opportunity there to do more with women. And again, to your point, like, if they rock the Serena shoe, like, her clothes sell out in a second. Why are we not doing more with female athletes and tapping into that? So I know Jarod touched upon curvy kicks, and as a curvy female as well, I love that your whole platform is about style and the full fit and empowering women like that, because you're so right that it always started with fit kicks. Would love to know, and I'm sure Jarod has a lot of questions too, but even from just like a style perspective, talk about some of the challenges from fits and kind of where the industry has gone to provide for curvy kicks. Like, it's not just the females that come out with the collections with the cropped hoodies that, are cute on a size too, but making style more inclusive for females.
So Curvy Kicks is my personal blog. It is launching late this month. It is very personal stories and creative pieces that I've done. I actually wrote like some of these pieces like 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and I am presenting them as such. So it's very interesting to see where we were then and where we are now. Something I've always done is journal, and I've always journaled about when I pick up a sneaker, when I lace a sneaker, just because I do lacing ceremonies. So lacing ceremonies is, you bring your sneaker home, I would put my music on, I'm in for the night, it's a Friday, I'm chilling, I'm talking to my friends, I'm relacing the whole sneaker. I'm looking at my new kick. I'm figuring out where it's going to live with its brothers and sisters. And then I'm going to figure out like what fits I'm going to start connecting to it. So that's kind of been my life. So Curvy Kicks is, when I look at that journaling, I had a really big kind of awakening where it's like, okay, a lot of bad experiences in my life when it comes up to fashion, because one of the things is plus size is trendy now, but it was never trendy before. We did not have product, we didn't have clothes like the other women, we didn't have logos, you couldn't wear something that had a Nike unless it was a men's piece. So you couldn't really swag like standard size women. So what that did is it created a culture of women who downgraded how they dressed, right? We dressed way too casual, t-shirts and sweatpants with really nice sneakers. Eventually that changes your confidence, because you're not going outside dressed like the girls in the nice jeans and the nice outfits, because you don't have that access to that clothes. So that's really where my position is with Curvy Kicks. That's how I grew up. That was my life. And it wasn't until I started making a lot of noise, and I started really exploring and working in the plus size space. So I started working with like a lot of plus size influencers that are not in the sneaker community. These are just people that live in the plus size community. So once I started really working in the plus size space, once I started creating in the plus size space, and that would be for brands, that would be for campaigns, that would be for items like that, I really understood how lacking we were in the sneaker community. Then I started digging into, there's women that are sneaker size, women's size, 12, 13, 14. What's on the shelves for them? What can they wear? Because those women, you have to try sneakers on. You can't just go on the women, order a pair on. You really have to try those on. So it's like, where are we with those women, with those sneakers? So Curvy Kicks is really exploring everything that is plus size and sneakers based on all my experience. I've worked with a lot of these sportswear brands. Like I did a campaign for Foot Locker on their first plus size collection that they took in. So I worked on that campaign to really raise that awareness that they are now carrying plus size clothing. And this was like maybe 2-3 years back. But that's when it was introduced, right? It was introduced 2-3 years ago, plus size clothing for women at a Foot Locker. Yeah. So that's late in the game. And same thing for a lot of other brands. They're creating, and what they did was they just created standard clothing for women. Now they're getting into more fit models. Now they're getting into creating more fitting clothes for plus size women. So we're making major strides, and I want to say Curvy Kicks has been very pivotal to raising that awareness, to working with the brands, to really bringing and consulting when it comes up to the plus size space. And it's something I'm just passionate about. Like, I had to put my vulnerability out there for other women to be able to say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take some pictures, full fit pictures too. I feel great about myself. I love the person that I am. I tie my confidence to my accomplishments and the person that I am to the world, and not necessarily how much I weigh. And a lot of women in sneakers hid for so long. So if, 5 women come out and say, you know what, I'm going to do what this girl does, and I'm going to take some pictures and show it all, then I'm going to do that. So that's what Curvy Kicks is. It's really a testament to that.
What's up, everybody? We are back, and it is time for America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell. Now, I know you're like, Jarod, why do you and Gabby all of a sudden look different? Because Shoe and Tell is now presented by Another Lane. Shouts out to Chad and Nadina. Another Lane is the premier destination for dope kicks. They're really an awesome platform, and I know Jixie is a member of that platform, which she can talk about as well. But what I love about it is it provides everything that you are looking for if you are involved and want to be involved in sneakers. They give you photo options, pricing, research. They give you an opportunity to design your own store. They do everything for you. And best of all, if you want to sell or pare down your collection or do anything related to that, they help you. How? Not taking seller fees. There are other people who do that, and it's kind of fucked up and whatever. We won't get into who those people are because not the time or place for that. But for all of you who are into sneakers and you want a place for a community where you can talk to other like-minded people, you want to put your collection up, another-lane.com. Check it out. Now, Shoe and Tell. Jixie, this is your show. It is all about shoes, so show us what you got.
God, that's always so hard for me. Like, you know what? I grew up in the era where you don't show your stuff.
Yeah, you
right?
just you
don't show it because you get got. You get got.
You get got.
We're gonna preface this by these are all from the fake website that you talked about, right? These are all secret, so don't be at her.
So it's like, you have to. It's so hard for me to boast because I'm the first one that will say, number one, being a sneaker lover has nothing to do with quantity, right? It has nothing to do with collecting the rarest, right? It has to do with how sneakers make you feel and how you feel about them and how they feel back about you, because they totally have feelings. So, and how you merge with them. So, number one, I like to put that out there. But so my method of picking the sneakers for today is whatever was closest to me and whatever's been my week mood. So this week I wore some sneakers. So I usually swap out my sneakers by season. So my summer sneakers are in storage. I have my winter sneakers because you don't wear the same things. I don't wear too many runners in the winter at all. I don't like my ankles out. I'm in high tops. But I have these pieces here because they have some stuff. So first one I'm going to go with is
I like.
It's just a beautiful sneaker, and I took some photos in it for Air Max month, so I have this one out. It is gorgeous. It's 1.7 million Swarovski crystals on the fabric that's used for this. So they are gorgeous. I love both the gold, the black, and the silver. So you already know. I have a Swarovski collection. So
I
I have
love it.
I have sneakers that are just Swarovski. Like I have a Diadora Swarovski, Adidas Swarovski, Jordan Swarovski, Nike Swarovski. So I make these little collections for myself. So this is one.
Wow.
I like it.
This is actually like my third favorite silhouette of all time. So this is a Diadora N9000. So the N9000 is just such a quality sneaker between the suedes and between the leather, how it's stitched, And this is the Raekwon, only built for Cuban links. So I have the purple tapes and I have these. I'm a big woo head. So you have in the inside, you have the track list on the and the different sides of the tape. So it's super dope, and it has like faux pony hair and some cool stuff all over it. I think the materials are exceptional. You can never go wrong with a Diadora.
Shouts to the chef and one of the classic albums, Only Built for Cuban Links.
I was freaked out though about it because I thought I bought a fake. Because it comes with no box. It comes in this.
Yep.
So I swore that I was like, wait a minute.
Somebody got me.
You got.
I like the captcha to buy these on the website. You had to finish the Raekwon verse. And I feel like that made you worthy, because if you did not know the rest of that song, you did not deserve the sneaker.
I like it.
Love that.
People went on to buy it really quick. You know how many texts I got? Finish this, Jazz. Finish this. No.
Nah. She said nah.
Nope.
So when I checked out on mine, I gave everybody the rest of the verse. And it was like, okay, now you can try, but I already got mine.
I love that so much. And shouts to Juanito, too.
Yes, DJ Juanito has, yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so these are really special. So I'm Puerto Rican, and I like to highlight that in, everything I do. Puerto Ricans have been around in both hip hop and sneakers since the beginning of time. We've been in these hoods trapping. So my aunts, people that I grew up in my community who were Puerto Rican women, love sneakers. They were B-girls. They're the generation over me that was like really into sneakers. So one thing I always love is any sneaker that highlights Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And then within that, I like the pieces. So these are Jordan 1 lows. Were made in honor. Jordan Brand sponsored the Puerto Rican national basketball team in PR. So these were made to honor that sponsorship. There's only 72 of these in the world. These came out in 2008. They came out in Goliath and like 2 other stores. Each store had 24 pairs. So this has like the coqui from Puerto Rico in it.
The coqui frog, my favorite.
And I just think this is just absolutely beautiful to represent my culture and then my other culture. So,
I love that.
So I think this is like super dope, and it's red, white, and blue. So it's like the color. So this it's the grail of my culture is what it is. So this is like the dopest Puerto Rican sneaker like one can have. I'm not supposed to have this because I'm a girl, So when I bust this out, dudes be like, yo, first of all, it's a low. My boyfriend says that this is the most expensive Skippy he's ever seen. Just because he's like, at the end of the day, it's still a 1 low. And I'm like, I don't care what you say. And it's actually a 1 low fat. So it's not even just a 1 low. It's a variation of a 1 low. But this sneaker is just like epic to me. So I love it. I sleep with it. I hold it. It's just something. It took me a long time. What happened was I caught a 7.5 in it, and I had to sell it because it didn't fit me. And was it a 7.5? No, 8.5. It was bigger. So I bought an 8.5 because I was so thirsty, and that's the only one I get at the time. It was way too big. Like, it was just like super big. So I was like, you know what? Just let it go.
I love it.
I said, I'm going to save this money so when I get my next one, I couldn't find the next one. I couldn't find that size 8 for nothing in the world. And when I tell you, I had APBs out everywhere. Every retailer everywhere was looking, waiting for it. I have Flight Club waiting for when it comes in. Like, woo! This girl's stalking this sneaker. And finally, And finally, I got the sneaker, and I got it in my size, and it's just been my baby ever since. So that's the story with that sneaker. And then this one I just love to show.
Wait,
just
Jixie,
because.
before you show the fourth one,
Yes.
the Kogi frog, yo. So my first, no, my first time in PR, right? Like I was there for a wedding, and I'm like, yo, why does that frog sound so familiar? And I swear it's like I was listening to the background of Big Pun's 100%, because I'm like, yo, it sounds like yeah. I'm like, it's outside right now. Sure enough, I did a little quick research.
Big Pun.
That's what it was.
I want to hear Big Pun and Cookies too, so I'm gonna make sure I listen up for that. But that's a dope one. So the next one is for the culture. So this is.
Ooh.
Let's look at that. So you see the MJ.
I see it.
And in the sole, you see the tippy toes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Him on his tippy toes. This is a Michael Jackson LA Gear.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Billie Jean, the Unstoppable collection. And you can see he's tippy toeing and moonwalking all over the sneaker. This embodies his whole when he was merging like punk, R&B, hip hop, like all those aspects. I have this sneaker in 3 different colors: black, white, and red. The red is trash. That was the most rarest one. It was the Billie Jean. And then this one, I have to take care of it weekly, monthly, in order for it to still look like this, because this sneaker released in 1990. Wow. So this is the 1990 original. So it still looks absolutely, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It gets coconut rubs, and it gets, it's in a climate controlled room so that it can last the time. But the minute I will put this on, it's going to crack on my foot. So I'm going to make sure that I make that a really good event for me to do that. And because I have to throw these on. So these were my mom's. My mom's saved, because at the time, she wasn't thinking of a collection. She was thinking, I'm not going to wear these, so let me save them for her so that when she gets a little older, she has sneakers. It was about my mom being frugal. So she saved these. But at the time, I had these in my size. So irony, my mom's size is my size now. So I have a bunch of her vintage and her older sneakers, and I wear them all my life. So I have quite a few pieces. So these are just something that's like just beautiful and very special to me. So I love these, and I love having, a piece of Michael Jackson too. I do love MJ, both MJs. So
those are giving me I
love it.
Serious Captain EO vibes right now. They're amazing.
I love that. I also love the connection for you on this because it's your mom, right? I mean, that's you talk about how it all began.
Sneakers to me is like family. My grandmother has purchased sneakers for me. I have sneakers here that's like, Grandma, remember when you bought me these? She's like, don't remind me. And my cousin's just a few years older than me, and I would be like, please, I just want another pair. And she would just go out and grab me a pair. And my boyfriends, all my boyfriends in my life, I could pull out who bought what, because that's something that comes with your love. So it's like it's a story of the love in my life, or my sneakers.
I love this. This is wonderful. That. I mean, we went full circle, right? We finished where it all began, about family. 6-year-old Jazz going out and being like, yo, let's get some sneakers. I love it. Jazz, tell the people where they can find you.
So I am on social media. You can find me as Kixie Jixie on Instagram. So it's at KIXIE JIXIE. I am also on Clubhouse.
Ooh.
Girl. So I'm also Kixie Jixie on Clubhouse as well. And that's really where you can find me. I can't get into too much TikToks and Twitter. It just takes too much time. So right now, that's where I'm living. That's where you can find everything that I'm working on, everything that I'm doing, and everything we're moving forward with in the female sneaker community and the plus size world. I'm right on that corner all the time.
I love it.
The best corner to be on.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you. Thanks again to our partners, Another Lane, presenters of, our favorite, Shoe and Tell. You all love it. And you know where to find us. Kicks and Shit Show. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud. All the places at Kicks and Shit Show on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. I will not mention TikTok because Gabby will get mad. And at JS Hector, at Gabby Rosenthal. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.